Strongest podcast ever. All right.
We should definitely have a pull-up contest.
Don't have a pull-up contest. That's just an embarrassment contest. She's she can hold on to things for probably hours, right?
Yeah.
I can hold on to a bar. I'm gonna give myself about 8 to 9 seconds before I'm just
You know what I'm good at that I think I could win? I bet I could tread water the longest.
Ooh.
I'm pretty good at that. I was a U.S. Naval Sea Cadet in my childhood.
Oh my gosh.
So
I don't doubt that. The treading of water never quite made sense to my body. Everyone's just do the washing machine or whatever the fuck y'all say. And I was just cool, I'm doing that all the way to the bottom.
Just sinking, corkscrewing to the bottom. Well,
It's terrible.
I'd love to know, and you may need to think on it, Tony, but yeah, what physical event would you win at? Because I think Kate and I have our zones.
There we go.
I mean, I don't know. I can jump really high. That's always been a thing for me. I'm not I'm 5'11", but I can jump pretty high and hang off of basketball hoops and stuff.
You can dunk?
I can't dunk. I can get about this high over the rim, but
oh my God.
But yeah.
A regulation?
Well, there's only one type of rim.
No, I mean there's lower ones.
Non-regulation.
But that's amazing.
You talking them 6-foot rims, or you talk? No, I can do that, and I'm also a very fast runner.
That's something I can't do that.
I mean, between the three of us, we have a little unit. One can run, one can hang, and one can swim.
Yeah, just
by land,
the alternative
by water,
triathlon.
Pull off a heist with those skills.
Yes, heist skills. Kate has exceptional heist skills. We're gonna need you. So
Perfect.
Just be by your phone. Okay, if I can do this thing.
Like the X-Men.
Hello.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Hello. My name is Tony Chinqui.
And I'm Frances May Harden.
And I'm Kate Burke.
And welcome to Social Rounds, the podcast in which two of the happiest surgeon dropouts you'll ever meet. And now Kate, she's become a fixture. We give our unsolicited opinions on the states of medicine, the world at large, pop culture, and whatever else we happen to find interesting. And first of all, welcome back to Kate Burke. It's like you never left, Kate. We tried to kick you out of the house, and you were just weird. I'd love to see you try, because I'm holding on to your door frame.
Yes, and honestly, shout out to official friend of the pod, Ryan Montoya. He's at his artist residency in France right now.
Shout out
looks
Ryan,
like
bonjour.
He's in a damn Disney movie. He posts videos of a babbling brook every day.
Yeah, Ryan out here doing art unperturbed in a French chateau. He doing his comics and meeting other interesting people. It's fascinating. So this is the podcast of the most fascinating people who are associated with medicine that you never knew existed within the world of medicine. But here we are, guys, and we're great, and we're being loud about it. Here's Kate just kind of inspired me to take it back. So by the time this airs, the Winter Olympics will have been completed. But right now, Winter Olympics popping off right now. And I just thought we can give some candid reactions because Kate is into these winter type sports. I'm sure you have some excitement and or insights into cool things about Winter Olympics and Winter Olympic sports that we don't have. So what are your take? How are you experiencing the Olympics?
One, as a climber, where is ice climbing? Y'all, we have regular climbing. Where is ice climbing? Yes.
Is that a thing? Is ice climbing just a casual, or death-defying,
It is the thing I partake in. It is another sport, I think, that's don't fall. So you just have to get in that mindset of, yes, I do have, we call it psychological protection. So you put stuff into the ice, but it's a 50-50 chance if it'll hold. That's one thing I would love to see. But
so you want more danger. In the Olympics.
In the Winter Olympics, which is outrageously dangerous as it is. I was watching, what is it? The ski freestyle, the downhill, where they're doing these is insane.
Is that the one
tricks.
with the bump,
where they just finished backwards?
That's moguls.
Okay.
Man. Not to be confused with moguls. It's you go off a really big hill, and you do like, they were doing, I think, 10s and stuff. They were going off backwards, doing 10-20s. It's wild. Yes. Give me
But
all
not
of
enough
it.
danger for you. Not enough.
No, we need to, maybe if there's like a pit of like animals underneath, like,
Got
like
it. And then when
crocodiles
you
or
fly over the
bears.
animals, you just tell yourself, don't get eaten by the
Don't
animals.
fall. Don't
Don't
fall.
fall. It'll be great. Fucking hell. Okay, so Kate remains crazy, and
Yes.
we're really here for it because, blink and you'll have a really refreshing and possibly endangering life perspective. And we're here for that. Here's the last thing about the Winter Olympics that I want to talk about. So there's a lot of, we've all heard tell that there's like massive amounts of sex that go on at Olympic Village, both in the
Mm,
Summer and Winter Olympics, right? You get the sexiest and everyone's young and horny and really talented
mm.
and with all sorts of crazy appetizing body types, and they just like get after it for like 3 weeks, right? My question, where do you think more sex is happening? Is it at the Summer Olympics or is that the Winter Olympics?
Winter.
I
You gotta
thought
keep
that
warm.
myself. I was like, hands down, it's got to be Winter Olympics, right?
Yeah, and they're like, those are the adrenaline junkies, I think. And those are the ones that are a little, we're a little out there, we're a little wild. So I would tend to say the Winter Olympians.
Yeah, the Winter Olympians seem like they live their life at a pace and in a philosophy that is very open to experience. Kate, we are so thrilled that not only you're here and you're super fun and really, a great hang and interesting to talk to,
Thank you.
but you got a story to tell. You know what I mean? We had like part of
Yeah.
the story last time. We heard all about kind of the lead up to and the beginnings of your journey in medicine, the challenges of getting to the match and not matching
Yes.
and all that stuff. But there's more to the story, kids. And Kate's been gracious enough to hang out with us and share. I don't know if this is the first time, like any sort of like public forum you've shared any of this
Yes.
stuff. Is that true?
Yeah, it is. First time.
Oh wow. Okay, so we will
Yep.
we appreciate that. We're gonna try to make you not regret it. So
No
let's
regrets.
hop back in, guys. So the story of Kate Burke. Let's talk about residency because no one yet knows like the trajectory residency took. Where we left off. You spent like first year in a Gen Surge program, and then you
Yeah.
transferred over to another Gen Surge program. Is that right?
Yeah, correct.
Talk to us about the journey through that program, the challenges that you faced.
Yeah. So I left my first program because it was a county hospital, really sick patients, not enough people, not enough money, all the classic things you're going to get in county, really, really sick people. I didn't want to go into trauma. So I thought that it would probably be more prudent to practice in a more community setting. I guess I didn't really think that most of the people in that community setting were going to be private practice surgeons. So probably
Mhm.
different levels of investment versus academia. So came out west, was at a hospital and a program that I had some friends that have rotated there. It's very posh, it's very nice, it's like the country club. Perfect. Coming from county, that sounds amazing. So new program, and I was in a new program in medical school too. I had a great time. I had a wonderful time. I'm very outspoken. I have a lot of things to say at all times. As the resident gunner and journal club president, I have a lot to say. And so I thought, like, this was going to be valued. This was my program director said he wanted to hear from us. We really want lots of feedback. And I was like, perfect. I have lots of feedback. So even from the very beginning, we were always asked, how are things going? How can we improve? I was on the GME committee. I was going to the meetings. I'm like the point person,
Mm.
and unfortunately I found out pretty quickly that maybe they didn't want as much honesty as I was ready to give.
Yeah, that's my question. When did you realize that it was a trap?
Trying to think, maybe 2 or 3 months in, I was at the resident committee. So most programs, you get like the resident educational fund, right? So you can buy your books, you can buy your step 3, or you can, get all your things, a few $1,000s. We didn't receive any money. And our program director wouldn't say where the money was going. He said he didn't know it to us. And this was the hill that I was going to die on. No, we need to know because now I'm going to
We
have to
need.
pay,
I mean, you
thousands.
you love you respect books and the written word.
Literally, I wanted to buy
President of the
textbooks.
Journal Club. Yes.
I
Yes.
told him I want my paper textbooks. I need my money for my textbooks. And he refused to give it up. And then he said, well, since we are not going to give our educational fund, nobody in any program gets to have an educational fund. And so that started a whole thing. This is the hill that I was going to die on. And I was pressured by him to leave that position as a GME resident, whatever. And I kind of
You
had
were
this
essential
crisis.
because you were essentially advocating for, like, it was almost like go on strike. Nobody gets any books if one program doesn't get any books.
Correct.
So
And
you
I was
were
like,
kind of cracking a little. That was a little
this,
there was a little union vibes that you were trying to enact there real
well, it
quick.
was so wildly unfair that like we couldn't. And so other program directors obviously were like, well, that's not fair. We want ours. So you have to tell us. And it became this whole thing. And then I was like, he doesn't actually care what I think. He just wants peace and he's probably going to do what he wants. And so I had heard that sentiment that GME, the Graduate Medical Education Office, and the PD is not there for you. They are there to protect the program. They are protect the hospital and all these things. So that kind of started to fit. And it really, if there's an antagonist in my story, it is my former program director. Very by the book, very political, very smiley, when the cameras are on. And that's very different than how I am. So
Yeah. This is fun because you're coming in as a troublemaker
yes.
because you have lived quite a bit of life leading up
Yes.
to this point. And as we noted last episode, you are the child of your mom, and your mom doesn't take
She
any
ran a
shit.
strict program. run by
Strict
your mom.
regime.
Program, strict
Yes.
regime.
And so you
Yes.
came in, you said, y'all want to hear from us? Okay, let's put it on schedule, make time, because I got time. And it turns out they did
Literally.
not really want to hear from you.
I tell people all the time, you do get to pick the hill that you want to die on. I brought
Yeah.
a similar vibe to the function, which is that I used to say, like, literally, I'm sure I said to the department, I would sink the ship just to kill the captain.
Mm.
And they were always like, what is she always going on about? I don't think that they knew as many idioms as me.
You
I
do.
would
You're very well versed in idioms, but you would say that. But
That's
then,
so funny.
how would that play out? Would you?
I honestly,
you weren't
I think people
you weren't dying on the hills to sink that ship.
No, they were just ignoring me. I was showing up every day, but I was doing my work. Just while doing my work, this is the stuff that I was saying outright. But like the work would all get done and it would be done correctly. And so I just feel like we all limped along together for many, many years that way.
Yeah.
You were just like,
Yeah.
this is an injustice, and what I stand for is antithetical to what's going on. So that's where I'm gonna stand. And
Correct.
did you continue to do that? Do you think that was part of the issue, or just the issue?
Totally. And I think it comes from my mother's regime. One of the big parts is if you don't say something, who's going to say something? If you don't do something, who is going to do something? And evil is what happens when good people do nothing. So you always have to be the one to do something. You always have to be the one to say something. And if there's a car pulled over, literally just within the last 2 years, I have been dissuaded from pulling over whenever I see someone pulled over on the side of the highway. Like, really, in our household, like, that is what you do. If there is someone outside of the Walgreens that may be unhoused, you buy them food. Like, it is every day. We live it, we breathe it, we do it. And I took that into residency. There are injustices everywhere, and I will attack every single one. And I performed up to the standard I would hope that someone talking a lot of shit would, and getting the second highest raw in my residency in our ITE my first year, I think speaks to that. And it still didn't save me. So yeah, I attacked every single hill. We're lying about our work hours. We're doing stuff we shouldn't be doing. Or, just anything that any normal surgical residency has, I attacked. We shouldn't be talked to this way. They're not providing us foods. We don't have call rooms, blah, blah, blah. We are just shadowing this one doctor. We're not even touching the patients. We're not even writing notes. Like, this is a useless rotation. Every single hill was a hill to die on. And that marked me really early on as the squeaky wheel, the problem, difficult. And it's then that I got this label of she's difficult. She may not be a great fit for this program. And so I was put on probation the first opportunity that was able, which was December of that first year.
And I just want to pause right there. And again, I thank you for sharing this. And this is so fascinating, especially coming from some stuff we've talked about recently in terms of the bystander effect, where, and I'm sure this is something you observed in others, like, you see an injustice going on in residency, but you watch it and you don't intervene because you're scared of what'll happen to you, right? And it feels like you knew that you were different than everybody else in terms of how you approach things, right? Like, you knew you were in a world of people who were running scared. Yeah. And so how did that, like, being in an environment like that affect how loud you wanted to be? Or did it make you start thinking twice? Or was there an added anxiety to all the speaking out you were doing that you never really had before and never really worried before?
I have viewed myself almost as the canary in the coal mine. I am sensitive and I am really tuned into like the injustices that are going on, not only in residency, in the world in general, of which there are many. And so I kind of view it as my albatross. I will be the one who sees it and I will be the one who says something. I will be the boots on the ground to bring awareness, if not anything else. And so when my co-residents, there's a sense of betrayal when, I have people calling me at night and I was sort of that, that source that people would come and be vulnerable with. And they were, this is not fair. Or, I'm lying on my hours, or, I'm getting chewed at for absolutely nothing. And, I want to die. I don't want to be here anymore. I want all this stuff. And when I bring it up and the next day, they act like the conversations never happened. Yeah, it feels like a betrayal, but unfortunately, it's not a new feeling to me. And so, press on. No, I wasn't scared. And I think that my amygdala definitely it's not normal. I joke, but I don't know. There might be something there that I didn't feel the fear. And I think my PD was expecting at some point I would be scared for my job. And that never really came.
Yeah. Because you don't fall. You weren't going to fall. And that's kind of how you
This is a no-fall zone. This is a no-fall zone.
Like, you're going to do your thing. This is fascinating. And I'm just, man, Kate, I'm telling you, man, like we are a highly minoritized pod here.
Yeah.
And I like hearing white ladies talk like that, man. Like, that's the kind of energy, you know what I mean?
Yes,
like, just that, having that kind of fearlessness, and not only for yourself, but what you just said, like, people are coming to you. People are calling you because they know that you have this fearlessness about you. And they're just like, I don't know how to say this out loud. Yeah. Granted, like, I totally understand your frustrations in, like, when you bring it up, like, am I alone on this hill? But I would think that you would also understand, and I don't know who else what the persuasions of your program were, but like, I would assume that you'd be like, oh, like, if I were your junior resident and, Tony's just like, oh no, man, they treat me differently out here, and they seem to like say certain things about me that they wouldn't say about others. And I don't know how to navigate that. And I really can't say anything about that because that's been my entire life story, is like, my life is physically in danger if I put that sort of stuff out there. That's how I grew up. Yes. And so you're nodding your head like, like, does this sound familiar? Like, being in and around these positions?
I'm like, I feel like a Karen, but is there like a positive spin on a Karen? Like,
yes.
Like,
of course
there's just good
Karens.
Karen. Yeah. I've seen good Karen stories.
I got no problem. Yeah.
Positive Karen.
Literally, just even Kate's face while you were sharing that, Tony, Kate was like, I saw in her eyes, she was like, I'm going to go crack an apple with my bare hands in front of that person. I'm going to walk right up to them, crack an apple, leave it on their desk,
Mhm.
and I'll say, this is
Oh my
from
God.
Tony. This is for Tony.
Tony.
God, I need some cracked apples, man.
Okay, now I have to send a video. Now this has to be a video. Maybe like we can just do it at the end and like do a line
Yeah, I
reading
mean,
or
we have to
something.
immediately after we're off,
line up
we're
the
reading it.
apples.
Line up the apples.
That's gonna be a promo for the episode.
Right?
Caption is going to be, how do you like them apples?
Easy.
I love this. I love this.
You're
I'm
gonna
gonna have to go buy an
become-
apple.
We can
You're gonna
tag your
become-
old PD if you want.
Oh my God.
Tag 'em
Nothing
up.
would make me happier, quite honestly.
They wouldn't
yeah.
even understand it, but it would feel so good.
And
They would
that's
know
all I
that
need.
they would know it's some kind of threat. They might not like know the nature of the threat, but they'd be like,
Didn't we
oh,
fail
they're wishing
threat?
me ill.
We love threats. We're about those here. So yeah,
Good. Me too.
welcome to the team.
Yes. We actually had a very diverse residency, our classes, which was awesome. But yeah, as you said, of course, things were said. Of course, things happened. And I told Francis May this as well, one of my co-residents, born and raised in Mexico, went to med school here, obviously was in residency now here too. And ESL, English second language, obviously has the vocabulary to get through medical school and residency. And one of the comments he got on his professional into your, permanent record was speak better English or your accent's too strong. And
There's some real
I went to-
constructive criticism. Yeah.
I mean, it fucking blew my mind. It's like
Yeah.
how basic, how uninteresting, how out of all the fucking things that you can say, that's where we go. And yeah, I would always go to bat. And I hope even now, even if I don't talk to them, they know that I would always go to bat for them. Even if there was fucking nothing in it for me, I just couldn't stand to see that sort of injustice. And that is ultimately the hot hill that I died on. So,
man, I'm telling you, I don't know. You're like, I have to tell. I'm thinking about my partner here, and she kind of has this similar sort of justice-based fire about her, and that's kind of
Yeah.
that's how I live my day-to-day life in my house. And
Good.
it's just like very encouraging and refreshing to hear. But I know it's weighing you down. As you're going through training, right? Like you get put on probation, you get put on personality probation. That's what I got put on.
Yep.
I was there too, and they were just like, it's basically like, fix your general demeanor, which we don't super like.
This.
It doesn't fit into the mold, so do something. And honestly, we don't expect you to do much about it. So, it's their way of saying you're expendable. But you're in that first phase of probation.
Right.
Do you double down, or do you just, or are you just like, do I protect myself in some way here? How do you reflect on that?
Said to myself, I said to my mother, my leader, I said to my therapist, my friends, my co-residents, I would rather lose my job than lose my soul. And I mean, there was a bit of naivete in that because I thought that nobody gets fired from residency. Like, you hear all these crazy stories. Oh, he was like drunk in the call room, or like they were having sex in the call room, or he was taking ketamine from patients, and like, oh,
A lot of
he got a
he's in
DUI.
there, huh?
Yeah. Maybe it's a 50-50 mix about who I have heard these stories about. But yeah, no one got fired. So I thought I had that protection, but I mean, even in retrospect, yeah, that's pretty true for him that I blazed on.
Just
Double
kept
down.
lighting fires.
Yeah. I might
Okay,
have
for
doubled
example.
down.
Yeah, for example, doubling down. What'd that look like?
I'm trying to think about the hills that I died on. I mean, soon it turned into, it was like, oh, this is a bad fit. Oh, blah, blah. It's just like these kind of intangible things, very subjective that I couldn't really work on per se. But then I started having juniors, then I started or interns, and then I started having med students and started having teams. And I would always send them home. Like when stuff was done, if I can handle stuff, they're going home. Med students are going home as soon as they can. like, go study, go do these things. That turned into, you don't know how to be a leader. You don't know how to delegate. You don't know how to do these things. And then I was on rotation and things started to get bad about this time last year when just blatant sexual harassment started happening. And that is something I'm not going to tolerate. And so I told everyone that would listen, I'm being sexually harassed. This doctor right here is sexually harassing me. This person is speaking these ways to me. I wrote to HR. I wrote to my PD. I wrote to the graduate medical education office. I talked to my seniors. I talked to other attendings. I told everyone, and nothing ever happened. Nothing ever changed. I wasn't taken off rotation. I just started getting more bad feedback, written feedback. I started to get phone calls to my PD. She's not a good fit. She's insubordinate. She is mouthy. She is difficult. She is all the things. And I just kept speaking. And of course, I was put on probation again. And the second that I stepped out and they had something tangible that they could blame it on, I was out. So essentially, I was on thin ice, they said, we are thinking about not renewing your contract. I was actively battling sexual harassment allegations towards someone. And I showed up 15 minutes late, which I say late because I think we all know in the morning, you show up early, you pre-round, you round, meet your attending, you're on time to your cases, or no one is really tracking when people within a few minutes are coming and going, at least not in our program. It's like, if you get your shit done, you come in early. That's just what we expect of you. But there was an attending waiting in the lobby of the hospital where I walked in, and he's like, you're late. And so
They're
I
ready for you.
self-reported. They were ready. And I had heard after the fact that everybody was told she's a problem resident. She is a known manipulator. You have to be on guard. You have to distance yourself from her because she will try to befriend you. She will try to get your sympathies. So you really have to be strict. And if she deviates, you let us know, and she's gone. And I self-reported. And I said, hey, I was late. And it was a Wednesday, and he said, 8 a.m. Monday, meet me in the executive conference room. And I knew.
Damn. And so by that time, you had that meeting and
June of last year, yeah.
Okay.
It was
and that was just
like
it. That was just, this is your last day?
Yeah, there was a 3-minute conversation. Went to work like normal in the morning, and my PD was a new graduate, or my attending was a new graduate. He's like, there's no way. It's like, I had a co-resident that got 2 DUIs, and nothing ever happened to him. And I was like, I feel it in my bones. I feel it in my bones that I'm not coming back. And it was a 3-minute conversation. He said, you were late. That violated the terms of your probation, and we are we're not renewing your contracts for the next year. Give me your badge and your white coat. And then HR led me out, and that was it.
So you were escorted off the premises for the crime of being late and being difficult. Damn, Kate. Okay, so that's a whole lot.
Yeah.
I have several follow-up questions, but first, when you knew that was coming and then it came to pass.
Yeah.
Was this the same sort of devastation that you had back when you didn't match, or was this just a completely different sort of scenario? Because I mean, it seems like you spent, how many years were you in the program?
I was there for 2 years.
2 years. So you're there for 2 years. You were readying yourself and having fights every single day, it feels like. Because I remember that feeling. I was preparing myself every single day for defend myself. And so you're coming off of this never-ending battle. Yeah, where were you at? Where are you at?
I remember I got the email. I was in kind of one of the side corridors of the OR, and I had sat down on like a spare gurney, and there was like blue skies and these white, beautiful, puffy clouds, and I could see palm trees. And I remember weeping. And I said I just witnessed the death of my own career. And it felt different than not matching because I had died for something that I chose. I chose to do this. I chose every step of the way to continue. And the intern that I had on service was a prelim that chose not to continue in surgery. She chose to go to internal medicine. And our program director had seen to that. He found her to be too quiet, too introverted, very meager, very meek, brilliant, absolutely brilliant with a heart of gold. But he didn't think she was a very good fit. And so he made her life hell. Also a minority, unfortunately. And we sat there and we cried. And she said, I never stopped wanting surgery. And I witnessed two really beautiful people thrust out of surgery and just wept for the current state of things. So this is what we have. And I had just started following Frances May on Instagram and Hippocratic Collective and heard her story. And I was like, she seems wonderful. And then I heard about Mel Thacker, and they seem wonderful. And I have this amazing resident next to me and me. And then it started to be put together that maybe it was like a David versus Goliath situation, that I was fighting something bigger than just one man, that it was a whole system that was built that I was fighting against.
Well, Frances May, seems like what you've been building and what you've been passionate about seemed to came along at the right time for Kate
Yeah.
Burke.
Yeah.
That's kind
Yes, thank
that
you
feels kind of
for
amazing.
Thank you for the kind words, Kate. Tony thought that I was full of hot air, but definitely the female surgeon experience. Like, there's something, Cornelia Griggs's article about the attrition rates of female surgeons. That was, I think, 2026, if not late 2025 publication. It's quite good and comprehensive. Everything that you shared, I think you articulated really beautifully. It made me extremely upset. Now I'm going to be upset for the whole day. You know, like it just, because I definitely, I've seen that, right? Like we know this system. I feel like Tony and I we're picturing our own hospital hallways where this is taking place, like, because it definitely happened there as well. When a person or a department says just not a good fit, it really is such code for just don't like you. What we think is a good fit is someone who is quiet and doesn't make our lives harder in any way. And so you speaking up for anyone or literally trying to improve things is a threat to that. And, you know, we see it against, yes, especially minorities, but really anyone in terms of the professionalism complaint is a common one lobbied. It'll be like, I don't like your hairstyle. This is a professionalism issue. You just lost a point in that box.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, not a good fit. Let's break it down. It's actually not that hard to break down. There's one fit that is the fit that everyone's looking for. It's for you to be white, and it's for you to be a dude, like cishet white guy. They still run this shit, okay?
Yes.
And anybody else is a guest.
Yes.
And you either if you try to play by the rules that they play by, you fail because they know you're not them, okay? And so you have to find whatever the rules are, the secret rules that they have for you, and fit into them. And they don't make sense. They're not consistent because it's because they're not real. They're there because they're just making excuses to not want you there, right? You're not part of the club, and you never actually will be. And so your options are to try to find ways to figure out what it is they want to see in you and then embody that at the cost of your soul. Day to day, you make the decision like you did, Kate, like you were intentional about how you approached all these things. You were just like, well, my soul's too important and I know who I am. And
Yeah.
so fuck you guys. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I think, hearing your story it's bringing up some interesting feelings for me because, I remember getting all those complaints, the professionalism complaints, the personality complaints, the jokes at my expense that were fine because I was the unmarried Black dude. You know what I mean? A lot of casual jokes about my promiscuity, my assumed promiscuity in the workplace. Made in various venues that you eat them, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And when I got to be a more senior resident, knowing the playing field and how unfair it was, and seeing the same things happen to kind of like my juniors who were mostly just minority women, and seeing it happen to them, and just like putting them on the game about how this is stacked against them, and it's not fair, and it's not gonna be. So you have this choice, which is not fair, but this choice to survive and shave a little bit of your soul off in the process in order to get to the end, so that you can hopefully make it better for people down the road when you have more power, or you choose another path, and it's painful either way. But hearing it's actually it's very inspiring to me. And I know it doesn't feel like that, when you're in the moment, or when you're in these recent moments, these recent months, but it's really inspiring to me, the way you knew yourself, and the way you conducted yourself in this world, without this crippling fear that has held me, in place. And I had to learn to unlearn that later on. So I know that it's been a tough handful of years here, but I just hope that now that you kind of have some space, or you're starting to get some space, that you can start to see the variety of ways in which you can really make, if this is the part of the world you want to make better, uh that variety of ways that you can make it better, and so many ways that you can use all the skills that you have, um to improve people's lives in a way that only you can, you know and
Absolutely.
so that's that's my preaching for this episode, I guess. But yeah, no, I was very moved by you sharing that. I appreciate you.
Yeah. It's just funny. I was the one, like we talked about. I didn't just drink the Kool-Aid. I made the Kool-Aid. I had the Kool-Aid t-shirt. I had a Kool-Aid hat. I had the Kool-Aid. Like I was in it. Went to every mixer, everything. Even when it was shitty, I said that was, surgery is the best. It's amazing. Like you're changing lives, blah, blah, blah. I was all in it till really, really late on. It was a betrayal, but yeah, I couldn't lose my soul over it. And Francis May and I have talked so much about, but what is it? It's like, what do you actually want? And it's so hard to actually get down to that and to know yourself. It's like I said, the human connection is what I actually want. Surgery was just the delivery for it. So in the months past, I got my state license, because all you need is just 1 year of residency and have passed your step 3. So got that. And I'm doing wound care part-time. I'm a wound care doctor, and I get to go to nursing homes. I love old people. They are my absolute favorite people, because they're sassy like I am, and we can sass at each
Hmm.
other. And so I get to be Dr. Burke for 2-3 days a week and get just a little, maybe 10-12 hours, just a little bit. I work with the Hippocratic Collective, and I hope I'm establishing myself as sort of that safe place for people to come. We get so many phone calls of people saying, I don't know that I'm going to continue my residency, or I have been fired from my residency, or all these things. I don't know where my place is in medicine. And I happily take those phone calls. And I have a whole little list of people that I make my calls and texts to, shout out to them, and hope to be that safe space for them. That's all I really wanted, was to be a safe space for people to land, whether that be patients or peers.
I mean,
It's such a blessing to have you, yeah, at the HC, and certainly like you're a resource I wish existed when I was in residency.
hmm
I do think, yeah, Kate just has like the exact right spirit and like a graciousness that I think people who are in acute pain like that, it's wonderful for. We're lucky to have Kate, because somebody has to do
Thanks.
that really important work.
yeah, man. Honestly, I think that's a perfect place to end today. I've been, this is. I hope that everybody has taken the meaning from Kate's story that we have, right? Like, there's gonna be, there's folks who are like kind of, I mean, honestly, like deep in the closet as far as
Mm,
the Dr. Kool-Aid, okay? That
mm,
don't want to admit to themselves what's really happening to them. And a lot of those closeted docs get very mean when they hear stories of failure, stories of getting fired, stories of, ruffling feathers and all of that sort of stuff. And
yeah.
we say fuck them, right? But also, please just like take it as an opportunity to to kind of look at yourself, look in the mirror, look at the people around you, look at the world as it is, as opposed to what you keep getting told it's supposed to be. And, you know, start listening and taking care of each other, because, and also like, you know, there's no shame. There's no shame. That's it. And just remember that, you know, as you go through all that we go through. And with that, another successful and legendary episode of Social Rounds comes to a close. Francis May.
If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, rate us 5 stars, leave a review, and check out our website, hippocratic-collective.com, for more shows and content like this. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.